Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Zen and this is video 9 of the Figma series where we're going to be creating this very simple BTEC courses page based on the beach style portfolio. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before we get started, let's actually talk about the content of this page. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you probably are doing the level 2 BTEC course, and this is going to be for your digital portfolio, which is unit 3 or even unit 13 for the website development. They tend to be done together. The BTEC course page is quite important because some of the criteria in your digital portfolio is that you're meant to be showing samples of your work, and this is the page that really helps you to showcase your work. Okay, so this top bit here, we've got a little introduction about myself, and then we've got a bundle of pictures around the side. Now ideally, if you're actually doing a course, these pictures should be of your work. Okay, so you know, screenshot here to represent coding. This is actually sort of a page designed, actually very similar to what we're doing now, but just at the early stages where you're just penning it out. Bit of code in here to represent perhaps a bit of web design or one of the other units that you're doing, and an image here for animations. And the idea here is that you could actually put your own pictures in here. So for example, for the unit 4 creating digital animations, you absolutely could put that in here. And for some of the work that you've done for your digital portfolio, like these mock-ups, you could actually add the images here as well. And then finally, we've got the actual units that you might be taking. And again, these should be personalized to the actual units you are taking in your course. And the idea here is that these ones in blue are actual links that will take you to an individual page where you can showcase your work even more, giving them download links and stuff like that to actually view your content. And that's the idea of this page. So now we've got the idea, let's go and start to build it. So here I am in the Figma website. The bit you saw earlier was actually the Figma app, which is in the pen drive system. And so I'm actually on the base page at the moment, so I'm just going to go back to files, and I'm going to take this base page and I'm going to duplicate it like we've done before, and we are going to call this the BTEC page. So we're just going to right click, rename, and call it BTEC, and put it in capitals because we should do. And then we're going to double click on it to open it up. And as we've done before, we're going to click on the desktop bit here so that we can turn on the layers. Here it's not the layer, sorry, the layout grid, because the first thing we're going to do is to add our title. Now, if you notice, we're doing this quite often with our titles. We're putting them in here. So what we're actually going to do is, after we've done it on here, we're actually going to go back to the base page and we're going to add it in there. So all we have to do in future is just change the text. But first of all, we're going to put in BTEC course, and you see that we're going to have to sort of update the settings on this. So it's already at Courgette, which is the font that we're using for this website. We need to change the font size though to 72. We want to center align the text. We want to turn it to white. Okay, and now what we'll do is just be a bit cheeky. See, I've got a highlighter there. I'm just going to do Control C to copy. I'm going to go back to files, and it saves automatically. I'm going to go into base, and hopefully if I do Control V, see, it's not in the right place. So again, on here, we're going to go desktop. We're going to turn on the layers. We're going to make sure we select the text, and then we're going to move it into the right place, which is at the top here. And one of the reasons doing this here is that it means it'll be in the same place on all our pages from now on. And then we're just going to go back to files. It doesn't matter that it says BTEC on a base page because obviously the idea is that we're changing the text. So we go back into the BTEC, and here we are. So the next bit is to add the main bit of text. And so again, it's a text tool, And we're going to let it spread across these 4 columns, okay? And we're probably going to move it down a bit later on, but you know, we'll work that out as we get there. Obviously, we want the text left aligned now. Again, we're going to want it to be white, which is the you know, the color that we're using for our website. And we're going to need to reduce the font size down, and we'll probably go for something like 24 for the moment, and then we'll see how it goes as we write stuff in. Now the text I'm going to put in here, I'm just going to save us some time and paste it in, and it might be a bit hard for you guys to read that on here at the moment. So again, as we've done before, we're going to put in a rectangle, okay, around the back of it. So we're going to cover it first. We're going to move the rectangle below the text, and then we're going to change the fill color to that semi-transparent one. Okay, and then so that we can read it, we're just going to get rid of the layout grid so we can see it. So a couple of things here. So notice how close the text is to the edges of the background color. Okay, and so we're just going to turn it back on, and what we're going to do is we're just going to move the text in slightly. Okay, so it's just a little bit of padding. We'll make this all uniform when we actually do the proper website. You know, this is just to give us a base of an idea here. And so I'm just going to go to the rectangle now and just increase the bottom edge of that, just so it's got a sort of padding all the way around it. And again, you know, what we'll actually do is go to the preview, just let that load up. So the text I've got here, obviously, again, it'd be personalized for yourself. The first thing is just turn on where you're studying. And again, I've made up Seats College, it doesn't actually exist. Then it's always a good idea to sort of like say you're enjoying a course and what are your favorite units and why they are your favorites. Okay, so here we've got, oops, I can't spell product here. So here you can see I'm saying my favorite units are the web design modules, the digital animation, and the digital graphics, and multimedia product development, because I like exploring my creative side. I've said that when I finish the course, I'm hoping to get an apprenticeship in web design or graphic illustration. And the reason why I put that bit in there is if you check your assignment, you'll normally get told of the reason why you are doing your digital portfolio. Okay, it'll be in the scenario area, and quite often it is you're applying for a job at somewhere at company X for this position, and so for that you would therefore put that sort of job title or something similar to that job title in this section here, because then it makes it look like obviously you're interested in the job that you're applying for in that scenario. And then below that, it just tells them the fact that we've got some units that we're studying, what units we are studying, and that the ones in blue are actual links to make it easier for them to understand, where they can get some more information. Okay, so it's nice, straight and forward. Even though you're actually doing this for your BTEC course, it is something you could use as a digital portfolio in the future. Just find a cheap web host company and you could upload it and you can have it there. I'm not saying this is the world's best portfolio at all, and there's many things wrong with it. It's just to give you guys a starter, an idea how to do things. So we've got this. The next thing to do obviously is to add the units that we're doing, and again these are very specific to your actual course that you're doing, because obviously different centers are going to be doing different units. There are going to be a lot which are the same. For example, you have to do unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, and then there's a few others which are I think unit 22 is a requirement. I think unit 19 is a requirement as well. Some of them are core ones. So again, we go back to the desktop. We're going to open up our grid again, or turn our grid back on. We're going to do a text box here. We're going to have it just inside the column areas, just so that it feels like it's got that padding around the background. In fact, what we'll actually do is do the background first. So we're going to draw our background on, and that will be right on the columns, okay? And you know, we might have to adjust the size a little bit, but that should be okay for now. Again, we're just going to change its fill to a semi-transparent one. And then we're going to add our text box. And the idea is to put a text box with a little bit of padding, okay, a little bit of space around the whole thing. It doesn't have to be perfect here. We'll make it better when we're doing the real thing, okay? And then what we want to do is to add our text, and to save time, I'm just going to copy and paste mine in. I've done the background box first, by the way, because you wouldn't have been able to read Unit 1 Online World because of the white part of the C there. So let's say we've got Unit 1, Unit 2, 3, 4, 6, 11, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 and 22. And with that you can see that I've got a bit of space left over. So first of all, inside the text box, I'm going to change it to this one to shrink it. This item, by the way, just changes the height of the text box so that it fills the content. And then I'm going to click on the rectangle, and I'm going to click and just drag that up. And again, making sure I've got a little bit of space below it, so I've got this sort of, let's say, padding around the whole thing. And then we go to the desktop, we get rid of the columns for a moment so we can see it. And again, you know, go over here, we can see it there in its preview. And this is fine. You could leave this as it is. For this type of course, that would be absolutely fine. I think the requirement for the Unit 13, you need at least 4 images in your entire website. It's not a high bar to reach, but obviously, you know, we're going to add some images just to give it some more context. Like I said, ideally you would add things from your own course, things that you've already made. If you don't have those, you could perhaps use things like the Pearson logo, the EdXL logos, things like that to add to it as well. What I did, like I've done before, is I've used images from from Unsplash. And before I forget, here's a little trick for you as well. One of the requirements, both for your Unit 3 and 13, is that you must keep a record of the images that you're using on your pages. And one of the things that you can do is when you are going to a website to get the image, you can actually use a text box on the side. Notice it's above the desktop here, and you can actually put the addresses of where you got the images from so you don't lose them, because even though you should have a table for them, there we go, just put one in there for you. Okay, this is one of the photos we're going to be using. So even though obviously you will have probably a table where you're going to be putting all the information about your images, you know, where you originally got them from, what the image was originally called, how you've changed it, is it copyrighted, stuff like that. It's very easy to get a bundle of images while you are making these pages and you forget where you got them from. So really good idea is that if you put the URLs here on the side, okay, even when you're previewing it, notice it doesn't show up. It's not because it's in black text. I'll just show you that. I'll turn that to white. Okay, it doesn't matter that it's white. Go over here, it does not show up. So when you're previewing it, okay, any notes that you put on the right hand, on the left hand side, right hand side, in fact just around the whole thing, won't show up. And actually I'm going to turn that back to black because it's easier to read when it's black. Stroke colour. Okay, so that's a really nice little trick, and in fact that's exactly what I'm going to do here just to get that image. So you'd right click on there. In fact, best way is to highlight it, Control C to copy, go into your browser, Control V it, paste it, and hopefully there we go, and you can see it's one of the images that we use. And of course we're going to download it as a large. Obviously I've already done that once. Obviously all the links are going to be in the description below, so if you want to again follow along properly, please do pick up all of those images. I won't bother adding them here because I'm going to put them in the description below, and I'm just going to be adding the images. And again, the way that I add the images is straightforward. We go back to the desktop, we turn on the grid, and we start to decide where we want things to go. So I had a space here, okay, and so what I found in Unsplash was this image here. Let's just go to place image, let's go to downloads, and this one here. And so I'm just going to click and drag it. Also, I'm not going to get it perfect. And you know, it's sort of like a comment someone's actually made on their mobile phone. And again, it works quite well because again, it's web development, it's a web page, and there are sort of things that, you know, other units that you might be doing, which is very related to mobile phones. Now we can see there, that's a bit small to see. So I went into, first of all, I resized it. So I clicked in, resized it, placed it so it's roughly where I wanted it to be, about the right size, and then I just cropped it so that it fit within the boundaries it's required. And I'd recommend that you try and get the top edge to sort of match roughly where the text is. And if you notice, there's that red dot for it there. Okay, you press enter and you're done. I probably would have made that a bit bigger. In fact, I did in the original one, but I'll just leave that there for the moment. And then down here, I wanted to add one for the represent programming. Okay, so again, place image, programming one's this one here. Click and drag, and again, this is a little bit of sort of just playing about. I wanted them to sort of be matched up to this, but also I want it to sort of match the height of this. I'm going to put two images here. So I'm actually going to, again, crop this one down a bit because I want to have a bit of a space so I can have the matching image here. And down here, I wanted one to represent the animation module. And one of the ideas here was try and get this gap roughly the same as the vertical gutter. Okay, so this horizontal gutter is about the same as that one. And you see there's going to be a little bit of messing about here to try and get the sizes about right. Again, you know, ideally we'd spend quite a bit of time sort of deciding exactly how big we want these images to be. You know, try and get the two images the same, stuff like that. I'm just doing this by eye now, but it gives you an idea of what you could be doing. And then finally over here, I just wanted to add one which was about the sort of prototyping designs for the web page. And so place image, and that was this one here. Let's start it below there and across, and again just a little bit of resizing to get it to match up with everything else. Now we do have a problem here in that if we just go to the preview, that looks a bit messy. Okay, and the reason why it looks a bit messy is because the navigation here, okay, cuts into this image size. We've got these which all match up nicely, and then this image is just sort of like pushed in there, and so I don't like that look personally. I mean, that might be the look you're going for, and that's fine. So all I'm going to do is to do a click and drag to select those images, and then I'm going to press the down arrow on my keyboard to push them down. Okay, and to try and get them, oh look at that, it's going to be very close. Yep, I can just get them to match up to this image here, and now I'm able to extend this image, and I might need to resize it now, so it's actually probably easier to delete that image and put it back in. And I'm actually going to do it from that side there and go across. Like I say, I'm doing this very quickly, but it should still give us what we want. So move this to the edge. Okay, I'm going to move this up. See, it matches that red there. What about this bottom one? There we go. And so now that matches, and I think that looks slightly better. You know, another way is that we could perhaps change this text a bit, move it down, you know, move this whole section down so it sort of fits more. But again, that still works. And again, you see, you know, this height gutter or this horizontal gutter is slightly bigger than this one here. And again, you know, properly, I would perhaps resize them so that they're both the same size, and I'd sit down with a, you know, calculator, work out the height of this and work out the height of those. And we can actually see that here it's a bit messy. That's not quite the same. So this image isn't actually going off to the corner. Match. Try and get it to match properly. Okay. But we'll try and get these to match along the bottom rather than having that little space. And there we go. Now, some people will argue that, you know, that doesn't look very nice. Again, we might actually really want to think about having a gutter outside of these. Okay, so a margin on both sides of the web page to have everything fit in better. But, you know, again, this is really a start to just show you some basic ideas that you can do in order to design your web page. Well, that's it for this one. I hope it's been useful. Come back to the next video where we will be doing the contact page. As always, please like, subscribe and comment. You know, tell me how I can improve it, what information you would like, you know, anything new you want me to do. This is Zen, signing out.